Some people think that the Iranian government is justified in cracking down on the people who are over there protesting the way that they treat their women, because it's their culture to treat their women that way, and whatever their culture is like, they should stick with it and just avoid the West, who is trying to change them. First off, that's not their culture. The ancient Persians, i.e. Iranians, were Zoroastrian. The government that exists over there now exists because there was a revolution that took over the government in the 1980s. Second of all, if your religion, if your culture is evil, then it should be changed. Would these same people who agree with the Iranian government agree that the ancient Greeks shouldn't be changed if they were still sodomizing boys like they used to in ancient times? I doubt it. They would say that they're sick and that they should be changed. But just because the victims are women, you think it's okay. You think that women aren't oppressed and that they should stay in their place. Now listen, I've heard people say that if a woman doesn't get married, then forever she's obligated to obey her father. You're telling me that an adult, a full-ass grown adult, is not doesn't have the right to live, to have control over their own lifestyle, and that they'll always be bound to what their father says, even if their father is telling them to do something wrong. If you believe that, then you're defeating your own argument, because your philosophy in and of itself proves that women are oppressed, or at least that there are people who believe that they should be oppressed. Just because the West is trying to colonize those countries doesn't mean those countries deserve your support. You might want Russia to take back Ukraine because it was once theirs. You might want China to take back Hong Kong. You might want China to also take Taiwan. Those countries that you are defending are no different than the British Empire or the United States or France or Spain or any of those colonial countries. What gives you the right to practice power over your brother? What gives you the right to tell your brother what to do or how to live their life? The only reason any of those countries are trying to take those other countries is because what? Because they want the power over them. They want to control them. They want their land. Yes, it sucks that Hong Kong was under the control of the British Empire. But just because of that, it doesn't mean that I want China to take back Hong Kong. If one country is freer than another country, and the country that's more restrictive and oppressive is trying to take the freer country, I'm going to side with the freer country, no matter who's responsible for them being freer. Descendants of slaves should understand where I'm coming from more than anyone. But it's mainly African Americans that I've heard side with these foreign countries that are oppressive. If you're not going to side with the Rohingya or the, what's the name of those people, those Muslims, the Uyghur people, or any other country, or any other ethnic group that's being oppressed or discriminated against by the country that they're in, just because it's America that is speaking up for them, and and you always want to give those countries the benefit of the doubt and not say a word in support of those ethnic minorities, then you don't deserve for anyone to support your struggle. I hate it when people put racism and homophobia in the same category, because those are two distinctly different things. But you think that I'm gonna turn my back on Megan Rapinoe when she took a knee in solidarity with Colin Kaepernick just because she's a lesbian? I'm leaning more towards the philosophy of Ambassador MC. If you support my struggle, then I'll support yours. So stop treating racism like that's the only type of discrimination that matters. How can you expect people around the world to stand up for you and speak up for what you're going through when you're not willing to support anyone else? Some guy once said that he wouldn't care if the women in Iran were forced to walk around with a camera on their veil so that people could see everywhere they went and every move they make. If you feel that way, then you deserve for the government to be watching you. You complain about how the government is probably watching people through TVs and stuff like that. All the type of stuff that Edward Snowden ratted on the government about. He told everyone about the so-called Freedom Act. More like the Big Brother Act, if you ask me. You deserve to be a victim of that kind of surveillance if you would turn a blind eye to the type of surveillance being on Iranian women. Let me be clear. I'm not saying you're obligated to speak out for anyone else's struggle if it's a struggle that has nothing to do with you. What I am saying is, do not support the governments or the societies or the systems that keep those other people under oppression. If you do, then you should be cool with what Israel has done to Palestine, because you evidently agree that just because someone has been a victim of something, that means that they have the right to victimize others. And I know you don't support Israel, so that makes you a fucking hypocrite. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in Israel. Maybe they'll be fighting for the next 400 years. I've heard some people say that they think maybe they'll just eventually assimilate, that eventually the Jews and the Palestinians will just come into one society. I don't know what's going to happen over there. But I'll tell you what I do think is going to happen in Iran. And I hope I'm not jinxing this by saying this, but I think that the protesters are going to win because, like John Lewis said, it's out of the box now. And what Pandora has released, I believe, will destroy oppression.